Welcome to Utilities Middle East, and today we are happy to be hosting the CEO of Siemens, Dietmar Siersdorfer, who is joining us to talk about Siemens digital transformation. You are welcome to Utilities, Dietmar. Let's start by you talking about the $500 million investment on digital initiatives that you just announced today. We understand that this region is really hungry for digitalization. So could you please tell us how Siemens hopes to achieve that and how you think this is going to transform the economy?
First of all, the UAE and the Middle East is a region that is geared for change. So they have realized that there is a transformation going from the hydrocarbons into a knowledge-based economy. And of course, in order to drive the digital play a huge role in the future already today. And that's also why we said we want to invest into that area, we want to invest into that region, because we look on the Middle East and in the UAE in particular as a growth region.
Do you see a number of projects in the pipeline that will make this a reality?
I mean, first of all, MindSphere application centers. What is it all about? MindSphere is our IoT operating platform, which we have introduced to the market. And of course, we see a huge demand also here in the region, in the country. And in order to develop these applications, we believe firmly into that we need to co-create this with customers. So you need to generate applications which are using the data that is generated at customer sites and then enable them to use this data to optimize their processes. And that's what we want to do. And this is in the MindSphere application centers done. So we have software engineers, data analysts, people there, and they are working with the customer to create the applications to make their processes and optimize their business to a better way. So that's part of the investment that we are doing, and we believe that investing into such venues will create a huge momentum here in the region and in the country to develop the digital business further. The other part of the investment that we are doing in the region is really a huge one. We have given to several universities and in several countries, we have given a software grant. This software grant is meant to enable the universities and the young students at the universities to learn in their curriculums already how the new software methods will be used, how designing a product will be used, to enable them when they come to the employment market, when they go for joining a company, that they really have already all the ingredients in and they know all these new digital technologies and can use them to the benefit of the companies and to the society then. So that's really part of our investment to build a long-term sustainable infrastructure also for a digital platform here in the country.
You also announced an initiative with Dubai Electricity and Water Authority to develop a green hydrogen economy at Expo 2020. Could you please tell us how this is going to be achieved?
Yeah, so what we are doing there is to enable what we call a hydrogen ecosystem and a hydrogen economy. And that's first and foremost also to use the electricity that you have generated by green sources, so by solar, mainly here in the country, but also in other countries on wind, that you use this energy to store it. And how can you do that? We are saying you can do that by generating hydrogen. So you generate with that also as byproduct oxygen, and then you use the hydrogen to fuel, for example, fuel cell cars. That's one of the applications that we will also show at the expo, or buses in that case. And the other way is that we store this hydrogen also to regenerate it into electricity by using a gas motor. That's something that we also look forward to do. And of course, you can use it also in downstream processes in the future to do fertilizers or to use it in petrochemical processes. So hydrogen is really a valuable resource which has a value in the market, which we are reusing by this into new forms and into new ways.
When you look at the utilities sector in its current setup, what do you think would be the most urgent innovations that are required to modernize it?
There are several aspects where we are working on. To give you one example that we have done here in Dubai together with DIVA, we have built a controller for a turbine. And this controller is a self-learning controller, and what it does, it optimizes the NOx emissions. So NOx emissions are dangerous, And we have built this controller now, so that this controller of the turbine is adapting automatically based on the condition in which the turbine is running to minimize the NOx emissions. And this we have built here as first of its kind together with DEVA as a co-creation, and that was a very successful thing, which is now roll out into other parts of the world and into other turbines. And it really helps for sustainability, and it helps also to secure our environment and to make it better, or prevent that it will be somehow poisoned by some gases which we don't want to emit in such processes. Of course, we are working on a lot of technologies to also look into grid systems and also electrical systems in a country, to look how can you increase efficiency in such an environment, and how can you better adapt your network to the situation of your power generation. And in the morning, we showed also in our Innovation Day the several sources that are now coming into the grids, like you have PV, you have wind, you have your traditional power generation based on gas, and you can steer a gas turbine, you can steer a nuclear power plant to a certain way, going up and down, but you can't steer a windmill, because a windmill is producing when wind is blowing, and the solar plant is producing when the sun is shining. So you have to find ways to make this more predictable. That is technology that we are definitely also working on, to switch down the fossil generation and really enable the renewables generation to add the capacity.
Your H-class gas turbine has so far achieved more than 40% efficiency. Are you satisfied with this? And do you intend to release a newer gas turbine with more efficiency, or do you intend to improve on the current levels of efficiency?
First of all, we see a clear desire in the whole region now to go for more efficiency in the systems. Egypt, the systems partly are already online since 1 year, and soon there will be the finalization also of the plant. So they will have then 24 of the turbines online running with a very high efficiency. Last year we also signed in Pakistan for the same kind of turbine. So they are really going now to leapfrog all their things from the last years, where they have not invested heavily into their power infrastructure, so they are going for it. And we are in other countries, also here in the UAE, and one of the projects is also known because we have signed an MOU and publicly announced that they are going for the H-class technology here in the UAE. Yet there is no technology like that installed in the UAE, but hopefully soon there will be also new announcements that this will come.
You recently said in your report that the share of renewable energy in the Middle East energy mix is set to more than triple by 2025. So could you tell me how Siemens is helping in achieving this?
Yeah. So as you may know, Siemens is active in all the fields of power generation. From the fossil power generation, we do wind. We have an own company, a joint company, which is called Siemens Gamesa. It's the world's biggest wind turbine provider in the world. And they are, by installed base, the largest contributor to the market last year. And so that's where we are active. We have then in the solar field, we are doing the grid integration. We are also looking to install solar systems, and we have the units which are doing the change from the direct current into the AC current to integrate them also into the grid. So these are the things where we are active. And we see at the moment that there is very much large-scale projects coming up. So that's something which we really value, because Siemens is maybe not the company that is doing rooftop installations, but Siemens is a company that can help to support large-scale installations. And maybe also in the future, some of these installations are not close to a city, because you don't want to have all the solar panels around the city. Maybe they are in remote areas. Even then you need efficient grid systems that are transporting the power from that remote location to the cities and to the load centers, where you have then the demand for the electricity, and that's where we are active. So we see a huge potential in this renewable market that is developing, and we feel that Siemens is very well positioned also to serve that and to help the customers where we can add value. In energy storage, we are working on certain technologies. One of the technologies is batteries, but we believe also, and we have a huge development program running in terms of hydrogen. Because when you go to batteries, you store maybe for a few minutes and hours, but the moment you go for longer durations, in days or whatever, it's very complicated at least to start to store huge amount of energy. And today in the panel we heard also that the biggest one that is built so far is about 30 megawatt. Now imagine 30 megawatt is not so big when you look in the power generation capacity that we have in the country here. Usually the power stations are 700, 800 megawatt up to like Egypt 4,800 one. So when you have now 30 megawatt storage capacity, that's not a lot. So therefore we believe that hydrogen can be a very good mechanism to store energy for the future. And this gives you the dual and triple and quadruple use of also the resource that you are generating, hydrogen. You can re-electrify it, you can mix the hydrogen into your natural gas, so you can blend it and reduce your gas consumption with that. You can use the hydrogen that you generated in fertilizers, you can use it in different petrochemical processes. So we really believe that this hydrogen is creating possibilities to build new ecosystems. And these new ecosystems will reduce emissions because the energy that you have generated maybe by wind and by solar is transformed into a hydrogen. So it's a complete green energy, it's a complete green hydrogen. And this hydrogen you use then in different ways. And even if you fuel your car with it, you have no CO2 emissions with that. Because all this is gone because we are using natural resources to generate that. So we believe that's really a good way to do that in the future and use then the fossil resources maybe for more meaningful things and reduce them also if necessary in a certain way and do better things.
In the same report, you also said that the region will require 493 gigawatts of power generation capacity by 2035. That's an increase of about 277 gigawatts on 2016. This is a massive increase within a short span. So how do you think this is going to be achieved?
So the energy outlook for this region is bright, so there is growth. We will see in the next years a huge demand in enhancing the energy system. This is in terms of power generation, but also in terms of distribution and smart grid integration. Renewables will grow a lot in the future. So we see many capacity additions coming from in this country and in the region from solar PV and solar thermal, but we will see also in some countries in the greater Middle East wind coming up much more than today. And this creates also the challenges that I mentioned earlier, that we need to work also on the grid integration and the grid systems, because the more generators we get from the renewable side, the more we also need to look how we operate our grids in the future, how we make them more predictable. Having only a few generators is easy to handle for a grid. Having a lot of, and especially large scale, very much fluctuating energy sources means also that you need to operate the grid in a different way.
Mr. Siersdorfer, I would like to thank you very much for your time.